Today, they couldn't mess around to start the game off. They had Chelsea Gray in the starting lineup. Salute to everybody in the venue. We're looking around. We're asking each other, does this game look a little bit too hard for Team USA? What's going on here? And as soon as we have that thought, Coach Nate Tibbetts, he had the same exact thought. He said, Caitlin, get in there. We didn't put you in the starting lineup, but we need you now. 3 minutes.
By the time the final whistle approached, the takeaway from this game had become impossible to ignore. This wasn't just a strong performance by one player, it was a clear demonstration of how one presence can redefine an entire team's identity. Caitlin Clark didn't just contribute, she dictated. She set the tempo, controlled the flow, and forced both teams to play on her terms. Every adjustment Italy made was a reaction to her. Every successful stretch by Team USA was fueled by her influence. And that raises a larger question, one that extends beyond this single game. What does this mean for Team USA moving forward? Because the contrast was too significant to dismiss. The offense with Clark on the floor was dynamic, unpredictable, and efficient. Without her, it became slower, more predictable, and easier to defend. That kind of disparity demands attention. Coaches can analyze schemes, rotations, and matchups, but at some point, the answer becomes simple: put your best playmakers in positions where they can have the greatest impact. In this case, the evidence points clearly in one direction. This game wasn't just about beating Italy. It was about revealing a truth that had been building beneath the surface. A truth that can no longer be overlooked or minimized. Team USA has an offensive engine capable of elevating everyone around her. The question now isn't whether that's true. The numbers, the eye test, and the results have already answered that. The real question is whether they're ready to fully embrace it. Because if this game proved anything, it's that when Caitlin Clark is given the keys, the entire system doesn't just function, it thrives.
And from that point on in the first quarter, Team USA put belt to ass on Team Italy. The best quarter they had all game long. The first quarter. Caitlin Clark comes in, scores instantly. Instant offense. Instantly the ball's moving. Instantly we're finding the open man. Team USA puts Italy in the dirt in the first.
If you want to understand the full scope of Caitlin Clark's influence, you have to watch the details, the moments that don't always show up in box scores but define how a game unfolds. Her shot selection in this game was a perfect example of that. Every move carried intention. A behind-the-back dribble to create separation. A quick shift between the legs to freeze a defender. A sudden stop that left defenders off balance. These weren't just flashy moves, they were calculated decisions designed to manipulate the defense. Then came the finishes. A turnaround fadeaway with a defender right in her face. A step-back three going left from well beyond the arc logo range, the kind of shot that forces defenses to extend far beyond their comfort zone. These are the kinds of plays that don't just score points, they change how opponents defend every subsequent possession. Critics had questioned her handles, her ability to create at the highest level. But in this game, those doubts didn't just get answered, they got erased. And perhaps one of the most telling moments didn't involve a shot at all. After one of her deep three-pointers, Angel Reese was the first player off the bench, celebrating with visible excitement. That reaction spoke volumes. Because when your teammates instead of opponents, perspective changes. Rivalries fade. Narratives dissolve. What remains is pure recognition of talent. Even players who had complex dynamics with Clark during the WNBA season couldn't deny what they were witnessing in real time. Greatness has a way of making itself undeniable, especially when it directly contributes to winning. That moment of celebration wasn't just about one play, it was about acknowledgement. A silent agreement that what Clark was doing on that court was special. And when your own teammates respond that way, it reinforces something deeper than statistics ever could.
Is a whole lot better than game 2. Now, when Caitlin Clark wasn't in the game, you could tell the offense was struggling. To be honest with you, I know we give her a lot of ish around here, but without Chelsea Gray, when Caitlin Clark's on the bench without Chelsea Gray making a couple nice shots, finding a couple open men with the passes, it could have gotten really dark. Let's get right into it, shall we? Please like the video, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it.
The numbers from this game weren't just impressive, they were overwhelming. Caitlin Clark finished with 12 points, 5 assists, and an astonishing 102 true shooting percentage. But those raw stats only scratched the surface of her impact. The real story lies in the plus-minus, plus 25. That number represents far more than individual production. It captures the collective effect she had on every aspect of the game. When she was on the court, Team USA didn't just score more, they controlled the game. The pace, the spacing, the confidence, it all shifted in their favor. You could feel it in the way the team moved. Off-ball cuts were sharper. Players spaced the floor more intelligently. There was a sense of anticipation, as if everyone knew the ball could find them at any moment. That kind of environment elevates everyone. Italy, which had looked composed and disciplined early on, suddenly found itself overwhelmed. Defensive rotations became rushed. Communication broke down. Players hesitated, unsure whether to step up on Clark or stay home on shooters. That split-second indecision was all Team USA needed to capitalize. In just 7 minutes of first-quarter action, Clark posted a plus 17 with an incredible 122 true shooting percentage. By halftime, the contrast had become even more striking. Team USA was plus 18 in the minutes she played, compared to just plus 2 in the minutes she didn't. That's a 20-point swing. In one half. Numbers like that don't happen by coincidence. They reflect a fundamental shift in how the game is being played and who is driving that shift. Clark's presence didn't just improve the offense, it transformed the entire dynamic of the game. Teammates fed off her energy. The defense responded to her aggression. The pace increased. The confidence grew. And perhaps most importantly, the identity of the team became clearer. This wasn't just a strong performance. It was a statement.
Points, 5 assists, 102% true shooting percentage, and a team high plus 25. And this isn't just a, oh, well, it's a plus minus, how much does it matter? This was a, you felt that when Caitlin Clark was on the floor, the team was a lot better. You felt it, you saw it, you experienced it, you noticed it off the bat. As soon as she got in there, the team quickly improved. There were even lineups with Caitlin Clark and Chelsea Gray at the same time. At the same time, started off the game in the first quarter. Okay, we'll keep Chelsea Gray in here, but Ryan Howard, you gotta sit. Caitlin, get in there. Help us out. Help create something over here. And
the impact was instant. Not gradual, not subtle, instant. The kind of shift that doesn't require deep analysis to understand because you can feel it the moment it happens. When Caitlin Clark checked into the game at the 6:30 mark of the first quarter, Team USA had managed just 5 points in over 3 minutes of play. The offense had been stagnant, predictable, and easy to defend. But from the second she stepped onto the court, everything changed. By the end of that same quarter, Team USA had exploded for 23 additional points. That's not just an improvement, that's a complete transformation. The tempo picked up immediately. The spacing improved. The ball started moving with purpose instead of hesitation. Defenders who had been comfortably set in their positions suddenly found themselves scrambling, rotating, and reacting rather than controlling. Clark didn't just run the offense, she redefined it. Every possession carried a sense of urgency and unpredictability. She pushed the pace off rebounds, advanced the ball quickly, and forced Italy to defend in transition, where they had been most vulnerable. In the half-court, her presence alone created gravity. Defenders couldn't sag off, couldn't cheat passing lanes, couldn't relax for even a second. What made this even more compelling was the context surrounding the coaching situation. Carol Lawson wasn't present for this game, occupied with her responsibilities at Duke during March Madness. That absence meant Tibbetts had full control over rotations and decision-making. There were no external influences, no shared authority, just one coach making real-time adjustments based on what he was seeing. And unlike the previous game, where Clark's minutes had been surprisingly limited, this time Tibbetts didn't hesitate. He recognized what the numbers and the eye test were clearly showing. The offense needed her. Not occasionally, not situationally, but consistently. This wasn't about preference or experimentation anymore. It was about results. Every statistical indicator pointed in the same direction. Efficiency skyrocketed. Shot quality improved. Turnovers decreased. But beyond the numbers, there was a visible shift in confidence. Players moved with more certainty, cuts were sharper, passes were more decisive. It was as if the entire team had been unlocked. Tibbetts didn't need a post-game report to validate his decision. The evidence was unfolding in real time, possession by possession. And what made it even more striking was how obvious it all seemed once it happened. The solution had been there all along. It just took one decisive moment and one bold coaching call to bring it to the surface.
USA basketball is ridiculous. You are intentionally leaving out your best player. People wonder why nobody takes women's basketball serious at all. Jealous children can't set aside their own weird feelings and just play ball. But like I said, they needed her. 3 minutes into the first quarter, in comes Caitlin Clark, and she gives you instant offense. let's get this going. Let me just, misdirection, backdoor, tick.
To truly understand the significance of that shift, you have to look at what happened when Caitlin Clark wasn't on the floor. Because that contrast tells the real story. During stretches in the second and third quarters when she returned to the bench, Team USA's offense didn't just slow down, it nearly collapsed. This wasn't a minor dip in production. It was a complete breakdown in rhythm and execution. Possessions that had previously looked fluid and purposeful suddenly became disjointed again. The ball stopped moving with the same urgency. Players held onto it a beat too long, allowing the defense to reset and close off passing lanes. What had been open looks moments earlier turned into contested shots under pressure. The eye test and the analytics told the same story. Without Clark, the offense lacked a central force to organize and accelerate it. There was no consistent pressure on the defense, no player forcing rotations or collapsing coverage. Instead, possessions often ended with isolation attempts or forced plays late in the shot clock. Chelsea Gray found herself in a difficult position. As one of the most experienced players on the roster, she stepped into a role that required her to create offense almost single-handedly. But this wasn't by design, it was out of necessity. She had to resort to what many would call hero ball, not because it was the preferred strategy, but because there were few alternatives available in those moments. And while Gray is more than capable of making big plays, relying on that approach over extended periods is not sustainable, especially against high-level international competition. Defenses adjust. They anticipate. They trap and force the ball out of primary creators' hands. That's exactly what Italy began to do. Without a dynamic playmaker constantly applying pressure, Italy's defense regained its composure. They tightened rotations, contested shots more effectively, and dictated the pace once again. The game slowed down, which played directly into their strengths. Tibbets could see the pattern forming. The difference wasn't just noticeable, it was undeniable. With Clark, the offense thrived. Without her, it struggled to function. This wasn't about diminishing the talent of the roster. Team USA is loaded with elite players. But even the most talented teams require the right structure, the right balance, and the right initiator to bring everything together. And in this game, it became increasingly clear who that initiator was.